Hey guys, how are you doing?
Today we're going to talk to you about moochdocking. What is moochdocking, Kit?
Moochdocking is when you, well, I know what boondocking is.
Okay.
Boondocking is when you stay at a place that it's not a campground, okay? Where it's not a designated, this is where the RVs need to park. So boondocking is when you stay
Okay, go ahead.
out in the wilderness or in a town, like at a Walmart.
So another word for boondocking would be like wild camping or dry camping.
That's
dry
right.
camping is sort of the one that everybody's heard of before. So no facilities.
What's displaced or dispersed?
Dispersed camping.
Dispersed
That's
camping.
BLM's. That's like on the BLM land they have dispersed camping areas. Anyway, moochdocking is like boondocking, except it's usually at your family or your friend's house. And it's just kind of a funny terminology to use for the same thing. You're dry camping, you don't have facilities. Sometimes you'll have a power hookup, but other than that,
sometimes
that's
water.
Basically at someone's driveway or whatever. So some tips about moochdocking that we have learned recently because we've been spending a lot of time with friends and family since we are no longer work camping.
That's right.
Which wasn't really part of our summer plan, but
we spent quite a few days up in the North Country, and that was all boondocking. No, that was all moochdocking. There you go. Got the terminology correct.
Yes. So one thing we have noticed is that the longer you stay at someone's house, the deeper the friendships can go.
Yes.
Or they can go sideways.
Or they can go sideways and go farther south.
When you stay one night with someone or you just meet them for coffee, you just get to know them, especially if it's a relative you haven't seen for a long time. But when you're there for, a week or 10 days, then you really have more opportunities to really visit and get to know them better, which is a positive side to boondocking.
It is. The negative side, the negative side to moochdocking is overstaying your welcome.
Yes, and that's very easy to do. And I think one thing we want to just let you guys know, and something that we have, we knew, but now we've experienced it more, is to be very aware of wearing out that welcome. Yeah,
and to make sure that you say, hey, you know what, it's time for us to go before that happens.
Yes, exactly. So what are some ways that you'll feel like you're wearing out your welcome?
Well, when you're staying in a place and they say, I know we said you should park there, but now we want you to park over there.
That would be a good tip.
From there, I want you to park over there. And then
they start moving you around.
And then over the cliff about 10 feet, like that kind of...
Keep going.
Yeah,
keep going,
a little farther, a little farther, a little farther.
Yeah, so that's definitely a good tip. If they start talking about, how much money it's costing them on the power or water, that would be another good reason to start thinking about moving on.
That's right. So before that ever happens, don't let that happen. The way you don't let that happen is you have a conversation right up at the beginning and say, hey, we're in town for 4 nights. If we stay with you for 4 nights, is that a problem?
Yeah, so communication, again, is key. And you want to make sure that you are upfront with your expectations as well as with their expectations, where you should park, whether or not you can plug in, those kinds of things.
Now, if your 4 nights happens to turn into 14 for unforeseen circumstances, have a bigger conversation.
Yeah.
Say, oh my word, I do not want to impose on you guys, but I have to rebuild an engine or whatever that problem is that came up.
Now this actually...
You should have that conversation.
This actually did happen to us a while ago, a few years ago while we were living in our house. We had friends of ours that had just recently moved into their RV. They were renovating it, and they did run into some... Unforeseen problems, mechanical issues, such. And it was really hard because they ended up staying 2 months, 3 months?
Yeah.
It was supposed to be for a couple weeks. It ended up being 3 months. And they ended up moving into our house. And a lot of it really was out of their control, but we feel that some of it was in their control. And it kind of wrecked our friendship, which
it wasn't
sucks.
It wasn't
that's
nice.
Horrible. It's not something that we
didn't look forward to that.
Wanted to have happen.
No.
So learning from that experience, do not overstay your welcome. It is not worth your friendship to have a free place to camp. You can find other places to camp. Your friendship is more important, and your family's well-being and connections are more important than putting that in jeopardy by staying too long.
So be sensitive.
Yeah.
Here's an alternative to staying at someone's house.
Yes, if you're feeling like you shouldn't stay there or shouldn't stay there any longer, and you still want to be in town, maybe you have more people to visit or errands to run or whatever, there are some options. So they're not the best options, but they will work in a pinch. So Walmart, of course, truck stops, rest areas, which can be very noisy. They're not very restful.
RV park.
Yeah, or an actual campground. If you want to just pay your $40 a night and stay at a campground, that might be a better option than staying at your friend's house or your uncle's house.
Because you wouldn't want to be an unwanted guest.
Exactly.
Now, what are the benefits of Moochdocking? Number one, usually it's like free.
We like free. We always like free.
Now, is it truly free? Well, guess what? Probably be sensitive enough to say, here's a nice thank you card. We appreciate
a thank you note or a thank you card. If you feel like you have used some of their facilities, as far as maybe they've said, go ahead and use our bathroom, or go ahead and use the shower or laundry or whatever, then, a gift card is a nice idea. What else? Like maybe a basket of flowers or fresh cut flowers. Even helping out with chores around the property, the farm, the yard, the house, whatever. Those can always be great ways of saying thank you.
That's right. And you can potentially, depending on the setup, you can actually get some chores done for your own setup, like installing something or repairing something.
So if you want to resurface your roof, I would suggest using White Knight. It's called Flex Coat. It's the right product. On an older RV like this one, if the roof is good, but it's getting that aged look where there's potential of little cracks at the edges, put a coat of White Knight on it.
And again, using the shop would be another big thing for communication. So make sure you ask your host if that's okay to use their tools or their shop or whatever before you just go ahead and do it.
And know your relationship with them ahead of time too. Like if your relationship is fantastic and they've offered a ton, they want to help out, let them help out. So if you're Moochdocking and you're over on the edge of their property and it's, grass and it starts raining, that could be a problem.
That could very much be a problem.
You may not have options of how to get out.
Exactly. So be very aware of the terrain that you're going to be parking on, which again, because you're not in a campground, it might not be your typical gravel driveway.
It might look fine, but it might turn into something not fine.
Exactly. And so parking in a field has its disadvantages.
That's right.
For sure. One of those is, like Kent said,
getting stuck. Yeah.
Getting stuck.
Now, parking in a field can bring in some other problems, but first of all, I wanted to say one point. What I learned is when I was plugged in for 4 or 5 nights, is the power was enough to run and charge quite a few little small things, but our fridge suffered because it was on changing amounts of voltage and power. So I left it from that moment on the propane, and it stayed fine after that. So that's something I've learned personally to keep my fridge from going up and down in temperature.
Yeah, because you don't want wasted food, that's for sure.
So when you're Moochdocking and you're staying nicely at a relative's place and you're staying on grass out in a field type of situation, you could pick up some unwanted guests, which is what
four-legged furry kind
to us.
We have to date killed 4 mice in our motorhome. 4 guys. That's disgusting. And just like a couple minutes ago, I heard one of the mouse traps snap, but we didn't catch anything. So there's potentially more in there. That's why we're outside. We're just going to live outside until we're doing our best to get rid of them. So, yes, there is the risk of picking up those unwanted pests.
Yes.
Not even guests, they're pests.
So how do you get rid of those unwanted pests?
Kent is the master at setting a mouse trap. I'll tell you guys, he's totally rocked it. All right. I heard click, clunk.
Oh, you know what that means?
What does it mean?
That means that thing that I set like this is now like this.
I hope so. I hope there's a furry rodent in it. If that thing comes flying out of there.
It's not going to come flying out of here.
Dun, dun. Just get it out of here. Pause. Take a moment. You did. Good job. Good catching. Oh man, I'm so creeped out. I don't even want to go in there anymore. What is your formula for setting a trap?
Okay, first of all, a few months ago, we bought 4 mouse traps in a package, and they sat under our bed for a very long time, ready for the day that they needed to be opened. And so we were prepared.
Tip number 1, have them ready to go before you have mice in your rig. Because when we found these mice, we are currently camping in Jasper National Park. We're like nowhere near stores or anything. We're out in the middle of nowhere.
And you want to react right away instead of saying, oh, in 3 days we'll buy some
You don't
traps.
want to be going to bed knowing there's mice in there without being able to trap them.
What you do is there's a couple things. Number one, you can actually fry up a little bit of bacon. What we did this time is we used peanut butter because we usually have some of that on hand. And
but your secret.
The secret is to use some thread. Yes. Okay. So like a needle and thread type of thread. So what you do is you loop it around a few times so that the peanut butter gets part of that, so that when they pull on the thread, they're grabbing the trap a little bit.
Yes, and it's actually very humane to kill mice in a mouse trap because they're dead instantly. They don't suffer. So
Snap.
We don't like having to kill them, but we don't like them in our house either because they're dirty. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's the way to set a mouse trap.
If we had a different option, we probably would. So we'll see.
Yep. Anything else about mice? Oh.
Yeah, what about mice?
We have heard that you can put bounce sheets around, so we did that. Recently, just today, we did that. And peppermint oil, which I don't have yet, so we're going to go get some of that pretty soon.
And there's a couple of others.
Keep your place clean. That's another good tip, actually. Make sure there's no food source anywhere so that they are hungry and they go for that peanut butter on the trap.
Now, we did, years ago, try a different option. A
don't
cat.
Do this one. Oh, cats are okay.
Yeah, and guess what? It didn't work. Not inside the house.
And you know what? We have had those sticky paper things. Don't get those. Those are so inhumane because
did
they
we
just
ever do that?
Suffer. We did.
Once?
Yeah, once. Until I was like, ooh, that's disgusting.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Don't do those.
Those are good for bugs.
Yeah,
but not for mice.
Not for rodents. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's it. We have a mouse problem. We're trying to get rid of it. Here's some fun footage of us trying to deal with our mice.
And we're dealing.
All right, so if anybody ever tells you that there's only one mouse, don't believe them. We have killed 2 already today, and I just saw a 3rd one zipping through the house. So
in our house.
In our teeny little house. There's no place to get away from it. That's the creepy thing. Anyway, so we are now setting 3 traps, and hopefully we'll catch this 3rd mouse with one of those traps, and if we'll just keep you posted on how.
And we're dealing with mice in Jasper National Park.
Yeah, don't feel too sorry for us.
It's not that bad.
Here. It's chilly though.
Yeah, and the weather's good.
Guys, let us know down below your tips for moochdocking, if you've had any crazy stories, if you've been kicked out of someone's yard or whatever.
Ooh, evicted.
That'd be bad.
No, not good.
If you haven't done so already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button below. Give us a thumbs up for this video if you like talking about RV life and about moochdocking, boondocking, and mice. And we will continue to grab life by the tail. We hope you guys are loving grabbing your life by the tail. And we will see you next Thursday. All right, so in the States, they call the open land space, the free camping areas are called BLM, Bureau of Land Management. And in Canada, we call it, well, at least in Alberta.
Yeah,
I don't know about all of Canada, but in
some
Alberta,
of the places
it's called
that we found.
PLUS. It's the public land use zoning. So you can actually go online and find that. I'll see if I can find the link and put it below in the description. And yeah, that's where we camped the other night. That's actually where we found the mouse.
It was
the first mouse.
Yes.
Yeah, it was actually.
No, because I didn't dispose of one there.
Anyway. But we knew there were mice before that.
Yes, we did. But we walked over and, that was morning. That's right. We were having a coffee and I saw him walk up the hall, look at me, and walk back into the bathroom. And I'm like,
where were we staying that night? We were staying at
the Pilas. Yeah, that's right. And then when we got to the rest area, it was like, we were talking and within 3 feet of us, we were just chatting and all of a sudden, snap.
But honey, we caught them at night while we were sleeping.
Actually, no. We were in the rest area and you hadn't even got out of your car yet.
It doesn't even
and I walked out with it and said, okay.
Good thing we
It was 4 of them, so it doesn't matter.
Good thing we filmed it so you guys can follow along and see what happened.